Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Bring in part 8 of What If the Gate appeared in Remnant. Link in the description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 25, A New Strategy. You, shut the gate down. I thought it was destroyed by the Grim. Tai said. It is not so easy to destroy such a thing. Even I had to expend some power to close it, Hardy told him. Then why open the gate in the first place? Why to Remnant? Why invade my home? This world stagnates. Humanity has ruled for too long, so much so that it has forgotten the conflict that has allowed it to reign. By opening the gate, I set a new variable into this world. I could have sent them to so many other worlds, but yours was simply the most compatible. Opening portals like this one is not easy, As for the invasion, well, I had no part with that. You humans do love violence. And why did you close it, then? Wouldn't keeping it open be better for whatever you want to do? Yes, I wanted to throw this world into chaos. But I felt a presence in your world that could not be allowed to enter this one. There is a powerful being of pure darkness in your world, one that can fight gods. It cannot be allowed here, or it would consume all that we have. Pure darkness, the Grim, those things, they are little more than pests to us. But they have a leader, and it is this leader who threatens the safety of our world. The corruption that she brings cannot be allowed into my garden. Salem, you know of her, Hardy stated. Then you know the threat she brings. But, can't you kill her? You're a goddess, aren't you? If you open the gate again, then trap Salem, you can destroy her once and for all. Hardy shook her head, no. A power equal to that of ours protects her. Even we cannot bypass her immortality. She cannot die, and while our apostles can suppress her alone, the dark creatures that she commands will spread even without a leader. The gate remains shut. You will never see your home again. Quote. But, enough. I tire of this conversation. I will not reopen the gate. Leave, before I make you, Hardy demanded. With that, she deemed the conversation over, her spirit form dissipating into nothing. Giselle stepped up and spoke for the first time since they had all entered the shrine. You heard her. Let's go. It seems that we must find some other way, then. Come on, girls, Tai said, signaling for them to follow Giselle out of the shrine. Once they all left the chamber, Tai looked back at Rory, who still showed no signs of leaving. At his curious look, Rory answered the unasked question, I have something to discuss with Hardy. I'll catch up later. We'll wait outside, Tai agreed. Once they stepped outside, Tai pulled Ruby aside. Now alone, Tai turned to Ruby. Alright, Ruby, what's wrong? He asked. You've been acting strange since Italica, and you promised me that you'll talk to me about it. Talk to me, Ruby. What's on your mind? Ruby was silent, looking down at the ground. Quietly, she began, it's complicated. Since they invaded, I didn't like it. Why? They forced me to. I didn't, and I was planning to talk to Kiro about it, but then Rory suddenly invited us to reopen the gate, which I know is important, and we had to go immediately, so I tried to find Kiro but he was busy and then we left and… Whoa, slow down there, Ruby. I'm here. Start from the beginning, Tai assured her. I've killed people. Ruby blurted. Huntresses are supposed to protect people, not that. Why? Why did the soldiers want to attack us? We didn't do anything to them. Tai sighed. He had been fearing this question. He had been trying to keep Ruby sheltered from the harsh reality of life, and knew that Yang was protecting her as well. With Ruby's determination to follow in her mother's footsteps and become a huntress, as well as the unforeseen disappearance of said huntress, Tai knew that such a conversation was inevitable. He just did not expect it to be so soon, because an otherworldly invasion was just something that could not be accounted for. Tai began somewhere less traumatic. Have you been bottling this up since Italica? The first was in the Vital Festival fairgrounds. When the gate opened, I didn't know that they had no aura. I killed them. So much blood. Ruby broke off here, her breath hitching as she buried her head in Tai's side. It's my fault. Tai patted her lightly, doing his best to reassure her. You did what you thought was best for your friends at the time, Ruby. No one will fault you for that. You were strong enough to protect your team. Rory spoke to me about that. She said that because she was immortal, she could judge the mortals, and she said that with my aura and skill, so could I. A child with the ability to defeat and kill large numbers of trained soldiers. Effortless and unstoppable, much like the apostles of this world. But Rory, despite her appearance, was nothing like RWBY. The former had been chosen by gods who could make their presence felt in the physical world, while the latter, despite her training, was still just a child. His daughter. Yes, her desire to become a huntress would eventually put her into this situation. Remnant was a cruel place, and Falmart doubly so. You wanted to be a huntress, RWBY. You knew the responsibilities it would bring. Furthermore, you were the leader of your team. You did your job well, protecting those around you. I let Blake get captured. You made sure that Weiss and Yang were safe. That you were safe. Besides, we went and rescued Blake, and she was very capable of fending for herself in the meantime. It's just that I never thought that you would have to end up killing people. Unfortunately, this is not a fairy tale. We hunters are more than just elite soldiers who slay Grimm. We are the protectors of humanity, and to do so, sometimes we have to do what we must, and bear the burdens of our actions. Now in this world, you have the responsibility to wield your power properly. None of us want to have to kill anyone. So when faced with someone intent on killing you or your friends, you, as the more powerful of the two, must be the one to find a peaceful resolution. Most people can be reasoned with. Make them back down, or just retreat out of their reach. But if all else fails, if they cannot be reasoned with, will not back down, and your friends are in mortal danger, then do not hesitate to strike. Protect your friends' lives, because that is the most important thing. RWBY was silent as she thought about it. Out of the blue, she asked, "Have you ever killed anyone, Dad?" The question caught Ty off guard. "I have." "Then, how do you handle it? The burden we bear is a heavy one." "I have killed, yes, but only in self-defense. Think of it not as taking someone's life, but preserving your own. Life must be treasured." RWBY smiled, her silver eyes shimmering. "Treasure life. Because life can give you strength. I think Mom used to say that." Ty returned her smile. "Yes, I remember that. Remember who you are, RWBY. Use your strength to protect those you love." He stared wistfully into the distance. "Summer would be proud of you." "Thanks, Dad. Power up the tower. Let's give it a test," Winter ordered, looking over the hastily built device in the Alnus base. With the unexpected closure of the gate and the uncertainty of the future still weighing heavily on everyone's minds, Winter had tried to keep them focused the only way she knew how. She put them to work. As the majority of Alnus base's occupants were from the Atlas army, their military bearing kicked in and they threw themselves into the construction of a communications tower as ordered. Engineers, soldiers, and builders all worked together, eager to be of some help, and the tower, a miniaturized version of the great CCT towers back on Remnant, began to take shape. Was it a good investment of their rapidly declining resources? Winter was not sure about that, but her proposal had gone through quickly enough, so she assumed that they were all in agreement with the plan. Once the tower was set up, it would allow them to coordinate their forces around Falmart much more easily. Without a central focal point, their scrolls had very limited range, and as of the current time, any scouting party they sent had almost no good way to communicate with the main Alnus base. Ty's group attempting to reopen the gate at Hardy's shrine, Vela's group attempting to conduct diplomatic operations in the capital, Kiro hunting down a flame dragon in some unknown location, as well as the many small scout teams sent out to try to learn more about Falmart and its resources. Information was scarce at best, and the tower was hopefully going to fix the issue. It had to, otherwise, they would have wasted a lot of their precious remaining dust. Powering up, an engineer reported. Everyone seemed to collectively hold their breath as the makeshift communication tower began starting up. It was nowhere near as large or impressive as a CCT tower, with significantly less power, but it would be enough to let the scattered teams around Falmart talk. That was assuming that it worked. There was no external change or sound, save for a quiet hum. It was impossible to visually tell if the tower was working or not, but the engineers looked over their displays and reported, all systems green. Everything's working nicely. What should we send, Ms. Schnee? Winter gave it a few seconds of thought. She decided, send a message to all active teams. Inform them that communications have been established and ask for a status report. Yes, Ms. Schnee, the soldiers replied, and got to work. A few taps later, He said, Ms. Schnee, the engineers recommend that we OLU connect to a single scroll at one time. We don't have the dust to spare for multiple connections, it is too draining on our systems. Alright, but before that, Winter announced, the calls I am about to make are classified. Everyone not involved in the running of the tower is to leave. Some of the soldiers were unhappy about that, but they followed their superiors' orders and exited the room. Right. First, Vila Fogzine, Imperial Palace, Sidera. Scroll ID 611454. Yes, Ms. Schnee, the remaining soldiers replied, and began to work the tower. Winter did not even notice that she was holding her breath until Vela's voice came over the speakers. Winter Schnee, you're not in the capital now, which means that you have a working CCT. I assume that you want a report of my operations in Sidera. Yes. How goes the negotiations? They have yet to. There was a grunt, interrupting her. A moment later, Vila continued, officially begin. The Crown Prince is a fool. I have a plan to take advantage, Vila seemed to yell as she exerted herself, of him, and I will have a full report drafted up as soon as I can. Winter raised an eyebrow at Vela's speech. Ms. Fogzine, are you all right? I am occupied at the moment, but yes. Once I'm, metal clashed, done, I'll draft my report. Very well. I will await your report. That went well, regardless of whatever Vila was up to. She had Sedig and Arta with her. She would be fine. On to the next one. Harriet Bree, Elb Kingdom. ID 2855. The Ace Ops had been split, each leading a team of soldiers and several locals to various parts of the continent in search for dust, the lifeblood of the Alnus base. One by one, Winter contacted them for news. Negotiations with Lord Duran are ongoing. The Elb Kingdom has many resources, but none of them seem compatible. Negative. Mero Amin, Akusho, Sidera. ID 1294. It's not been easy, but I'm making progress with the crime bosses. Unfortunately, they seem to have nothing we can use. Another negative. Vine Zeki, Italica City. ID 6519. Count Formals being cooperative, apparently they really liked our support in defending them. No luck so far, but they're willing to help up ask around. Negative, although the connections could help in the future. Elm Eterin, she is in Alnus. No need to call him, we can get his report later. Clover Ebby, Rondel. ID 529. The leader of the Ace Ops with his luck semblance. If anyone had a chance to succeed, it was him. Winter held her breath. Specialist Schnee, what can I do for you? Clover's voice came up. He had been deployed to the mage city of Rondel in search of resources. Winter would have liked Lele to accompany him, but she had gone off with Team RWBY to find Hardy. Specialist Clover, I would like a report on your operations. Dust supplies are low, and we need an alternative. Ah, then I've got good news for you, the reply came. We've found something very similar to dust. I'll submit a detailed report once we're more clear of the capabilities of this mineral, but preliminary analysis shows that it has a composition similar to that of dust. It contains large energy reserves within its structure. We're working with a local mage to try to adapt our systems to it or vice versa. A positive, at last. Excellent. Taiyang Xiaolong. Belnago Shrine. ID 49,152,547. The call connected. Hello, Winter. Why are you here? Don't you need to run the Alnus base? Tai's voice came over the speaker. I am at Alnus base. What? The scrolls only have a few hundred meters of communication range without the... You made a CCT tower. Winter smirked the disbelief in his voice. She replied, we haven't been just sitting around here. We've got a tower up and running, and although it's smaller than those back on Remnant, it will allow for some communications around Falmart. So, have you reached Hardy's shrine? Did you talk to her? About that, Tai's tone gave Winter a good idea of what was coming. In short, we managed to convince her apostle to get us in, but Hardy refused to open the gate. She said that there was a powerful evil or something on Remnant, and she had to close the gate to prevent it from corrupting her world. Her posture did not change, but the atmosphere around Winter seemed to change. She gave a glance at the soldiers scattered around, working with the machinery. Kiro had told her of Salem's existence, but the troops did not yet know. However, they would have all either seen Salem walk into Beacon, or heard it from someone else, even if they did not know exactly what she was. Tight-lipped, she said, the woman who controls the Grimm. That's my thought too. So, Hardy refuses to reopen the gate. We can't bribe or threaten her, because she's a goddess. So, what do we do now, Winter? Winter gave it some thought. I want a full report as soon as possible. In the meantime, talk to Rory and Hardy's apostle. See if there's any other way to open the gate. Got it. Rory's still talking to Hardy, maybe she'll have something. Don't worry, Winter, we'll figure something out. I expect you to. Inform me of any results. That is all. Got it. Winter sighed. The connection cut out, but she had no time to rest. There was one more call to make. Kiro. Location. Somewhere south. ID 2,814,354, Winter ordered. Already, the atmosphere in the room was becoming somber. The discovery of an alternative for dust might allow them to stay indefinitely, but it would not open the gate. If there was no way home, the people, even the trained soldiers, would definitely lose hope. Unfortunately, there was no time for Winter to handle that yet. The quiet hum of machinery did little to calm their nerves. With no accurate location data of Kiro, the tower had to scan large areas of the land to locate his scroll. The weight weighed heavily on everyone's already strained minds. Finally, the tower found a signal. Kiro did not even question the communications. His voice betrayed the gravity of the situation. Winter, there are Grimm here. On Falmart. How? I have no idea either. But I'm looking at a seer and it seems busy. And that's not good for us. Kiro. Picture, now. I need to know what's going on, Winter demanded. Got it, Kiro replied. He did not crack any joke, and the image came through very quickly, and that was the moment when Winter knew that everything was going to fall apart very soon. The seer was corrupting the flame dragon. There was no other word to describe the dark tendrils that spread from the jellyfish-like creature to the dragon. It was lying down, so still that it may be dead, while black ooze slowly spread, consuming its body. Only the head and part of the neck had been affected so far, but the signature white bone plates of the Grimm were already forming. Get me the commanders. Now, Winter ordered her aide. As he scurried off to do just that, Winter turned back to Kiro. How did it get here, and how did no one notice it? Beats me, Kiro shrugged. But I might have an idea. See this. He sent another picture as he spoke. This one was slightly further away from the dragon, showing metal fragments. That's the remains of technology that this place isn't capable of. It's one of ours, probably a bullhead. Now that Kiro pointed it out, Winter could see more debris strewn around the dragon itself. Kiro, are you saying that someone here is harboring Grimm? Winter exclaimed. That's the only explanation, unless one of the locals managed to sneak in, grab a bullhead, learn how to drive it and then get out, all without anyone noticing. Then I want Alnus locked down tight. No one is to. Winter had not even finished giving orders when Kiro interrupted her. Don't bother, he recommended, whoever they are, they've already left. You won't find anyone. There was silence as the weight of the betrayal set in. If something as massive as the dragon was turned into Grimm, it would doubtlessly spawn more, like the Grimm Phoenix that had invaded Beacon. Eventually, they would overrun everything. Kiro broke the uncomfortable silence. Well, that saves me the trouble of having to kill it, at least. So, what now, boss? Winter focused back on the task of stopping the potential Grimm invasion. Kiro, can you kill the seer before it corrupts the dragon? Gimme a sec, he said before the signal got cut off. A seer Grimm was very rare, but enough of them had been studied to know that they were mostly non-combatant support Grimm, even if the full extent of their abilities was mostly unknown. A veteran huntsman like Kiro should take no more than seconds to kill it. So when a minute passed without a response, Winter ordered the soldiers to reconnect to Kiro. It rang, and rang. What happened to him? Metal clashed, sparks flying as a greatsword clashed against heated blades. With a push, the two combatants knocked each other back, skidding across the floor. Kiro regained his balance quickly, triggering Harbinger's transformation. The blade extended and curved, forcing a deadly scythe. His masked opponent placed one hand on the ground, causing it to glow red as she brought herself to a stop. With a twirl of her sabers, she combined them into a bow and took aim with a trio of heated arrows. The dropped scroll rang, and both of them turned to look at it. Cinder smirked beneath her mask, and let loose her arrows. A.N. adjusted parts of the tower specifications, and some of Vela's speech. Chapter 26, Breaking Point. I'll draft my report, Vela concluded, shutting off her scroll with one hand. With her other, she held her staff horizontally, blocking not one but a pair of massive axes. Slotting her scroll back into a pocket, Vela turned back to the battle. While she was distracted and holding back 2 royal guards, a third came in from the side, slashing with his own oversized axe. Unable to dodge, Vela simply grabbed onto the sharp axe blade with her bare hand. Her aura prevented her from losing her hand, and she pulled forward, pulling the guard toward her. As he stumbled, Vela released her grip on his axe and slammed a fist into his face, sending him flying back to join his defeated allies scattered around the area. Finally realizing that they could not overpower their foe, the 2 guards retreated. They were sweating heavily, both due to the exertion and fact that they were surrounded by the fallen bodies of their own. Vela ignored the groaning, defeated men around them. Out of the many royal guards sent against her, only 4 remained standing, as well as that Faunus slave Tyol. She had nothing to fear from the former, but the latter wore a strange expression, and had yet to make a move. She was the one that Vela was wary about. Tyol finally made her move, darting forward with a small smile on her face. With hunter-level speed, the warrior bunny closed the gap and, using the sword that she picked up along the way, slashed at Vela's throat. The attack struck true, fast enough to have taken Vela by surprise. With the superhuman force of the blow, it would have taken a normal human's head clean off, no matter what armor they wore. But aura was superior to any armor, and the sword failed to cut. Stumbling a little at the force of the unexpected blow, Vela turned to face Tyol, staff held ready for a counterattack. As the 2 clashed, while the 4 remaining guards hesitated, Arda was watching with Sedge nearby. The former almost managed to sense the arrow aimed at him. A huntsman would definitely have been able to notice it, but he was not properly combat trained and was focused on the one-sided battle before him. The arrow streaked straight through the air, flying straight for his neck. If Arda was a huntsman, if his reflexes were honed, he would have noticed and sidestepped it or blocked it with a quick draw, or simply grabbed it out of the air. Instead, he was unaware of the deadly metal-tipped projectile about to pierce his neck. Maybe if he had been trained, the outcome would be different. As it were, the arrow struck true, and bounced off, deflected by aura. Arda jumped at the unexpected impact, hand automatically rubbing his neck at the impact point. Looking down at the floor, he noticed the crumpled arrow and came to a realization. Oh, someone tried to assassinate me. Calmly, he scanned the crowd for his would-be assassin. Most of the senators were focused on and in awe of the battle at hand, instead of Arda and Sedge beside him. Their guards were also focused, but for a different reason, caution, ready to help their masters flee in case something, or someone, went berserk. Which would happen if she noticed what had happened. As luck would have it, Vela was more occupied with Tyol than with looking around, so she was still unaware of the attempt on her husband's life. Unfortunately, the assassin, whoever it was gone. Either that, or simply hiding and biding his time. Instead of trying to find him, Arda bent down and picked up the arrow. Bringing it up, he examined it. Arda had no idea what he was looking for. He was just a translator, not a warrior. Nudging Sedge, who was standing beside him, he held the arrow up, saying, "Hey, Sedge, take a look at this." Sedge frowned as he noticed it. A crossbow bolt. He asked, "Poisoned, too, by the looks of it. Where did you get that from?" "Someone tried to assassinate me, I believe." "Someone? What?" Sedge exclaimed, taken aback. He was less surprised at the attempt on Arda's life than his apathetic reaction to it. "And you don't seem particularly worried." Arda shrugged. "It failed. The assassin is most likely long gone by now, so there's nothing I can do." "Nothing to worry about. You're just going to ignore the fact that someone tried to kill you." "Not the first time, really. I've kind of gotten used to it. Besides," he added, "I've already managed to get into contact with the Sidarum underworld. I'll find this assassin and, well, I'm not very vengeful. I'll probably just tell Vela about it. You know how she is." Sedge and Arda both glanced back to the makeshift arena, where Vela fought on, flames flickering, while the fallen bodies of her enemies marked out the edges of the ring. With a yell, she threw a fully armored soldier into the air, uncaring of his weight. Yeah, Arda nodded, but only after the negotiations. I don't want her going into a rage when she finds out that someone tried to assassinate. That was the moment that the assassin, having already failed once before, came back with heavier weaponry. The heavy crossbow bolt struck Arda hard in the chest, once more blocked by his aura but sending him stumbling with its momentum. The atmosphere suddenly went silent as the large bolt fell, before clanking down on the hard ground. Vila turned to the cause of the sound. Ah, heck, Arda had time to mutter before she erupted. You dare send an assassin here, she howled, fire bursting forth. The eruption of sheer power snapped the senators out of their awe and into a panic, rushing and pushing one another in an attempt to escape Vela's fury. Then things managed to get even worse. Another arrow streaked through the air, flying straight for Emperor Molt. In the chaos of the field, no one could tell where it came from, but everyone could see it pierce into the Emperor. Unlike Arda, he had no aura to protect him, and he slumped forward, falling off his throne as the life left him. Father! Pina cried out, hurrying to the Emperor. The senators, already panicked and fleeing, drew the obvious conclusion. The Outlander has killed the Emperor. Zorzel roared, putting their thoughts into words. He seemed unafraid of Vela's fury. Guards! Kill them! In the chaos, no one realized that the people from Remnant did not use arrows. They simply focused on the facts that the Emperor was dead and Vila was on the warpath. The remaining guards gathered their courage and, egged on by their masters, charged her together, aiming to take down the threat quickly. They very quickly found out that Vila was holding back before, and they were hopelessly outmatched. A metal knife blade appeared at the top of Vela's weapon, turning it from a non-lethal staff to a deadly polearm. With a single cleave, she struck out at all the armored soldiers approaching her, the sharpened tip of her weapon cutting through metal like a knife through butter. Get out of here, Arda told Sedge, walking in the opposite direction of the crowd, toward the raging beast. His wife. I'll talk her down. You're not a fighter, Sedge began, only to be cut off. I'm the only one who can calm her down. Get the bullhead ready. I'll be there soon. Go. As guards swarmed in from all directions, called in as reinforcements by their masters, Sedge gave a grim nod. He turned and hurried off. Arda made his way down to the center of the arena, where bodies were piling up. Several guards tried to grab him, only to be shoved aside by aura-boosted strength. Vila! Arda called out as he made his way closer. He then ducked as the spear was swung at him. Come on, let's get out of here, he suggested, only to be ignored. These fools dare try an assassination. I will make them suffer. Vila declared, spinning around and decimating another group of soldiers. I'm fine, thank you for asking, Arda said, instead. At that, the fire within Vila seemed to quieten down, allowing her to calm down slightly. She slammed the butt of her spear to the ground and channeled her semblance, forming a shield around them. I'm sorry. Arda waved it away, it's fine. Besides, I don't think the assassin was from the Empire. No. Didn't you notice? Emperor Molt was shot too. Vila frowned, turning to look at the Emperor. His throne was currently surrounded by a large number of guards, so she took Arda's word for it. Let's get out of here. Sedge is waiting for us at the bullhead. Right, Vila agreed. Stay close. Arda gave her a nod, and she dropped the shield. She then proceeded to charge forth, burn a path through anyone and anything that stood in the way. Arda quickly hurried after her, not wanting to be left behind, dodging pockets of fire as he did. The bullhead was already in the air when they arrived, hovering out of reach of the soldiers below trying to take it down. The occasional arrow being fired at it by the soldiers bounced harmlessly off the metal. Unfortunately, they were also setting up what looked like a ballista. The bullhead was not truly armored, and a hit from a weapon like that might cripple it irreparably. Get on, Sedge shouted, from somewhere inside. Not slowing down, Vila leapt straight into the air, firing below her to give her the extra momentum needed to get onto the bullhead. She landed and turned around, aiming her weapon back down, where Arda was waiting, unable to make that jump. The grappling hook shot out, landing in front of him. Arda grabbed on, allowing himself to be pulled along as soldiers swarmed the area. The bullhead was already moving off, retreating from the heavy weapons being set up. Arda was pulled up into safety, and the doors slid shut. In the driver's seat, Sedge watched sadly as the bullhead accelerated, leaving the city of Sedera to slowly fade into the distance. "Well, there goes any chance at peace," he grumbled. Arda nodded, keeping one hand on Vila to calm her. She breathed in deeply, hands clutching her staff tightly as she tried to control her emotions. With his other hand, out of sight of his wife, Arda brought out the heavy bolt used against him and examined it. "Wasn't that flower the symbol of the Rose Knights?" "Who are you?" Kiro demanded. He took one final glance at his now destroyed scroll. It had an arrow embedded through it, and lunged for his assailant, Harbinger out in its full scythe form. It was his weapon's deadliest, most powerful mode, and Kiro had a feeling he was going to need it. His opponent was clearly a woman, but with that black masquerade mask over her face, Kiro could not identify her. The black sleeveless jackets and pants did not match anyone he knew either. The mysterious woman did not reply, although that could have been because she was forced to dodge aside to avoid the scythe that cleaved down. Spinning quickly, Kiro pressed the attack, Harbinger coming down upon his enemy. Taken aback by the speed of someone wielding such a large weapon, she moved to block instead of dodge, using her bow to absorb the blow. Harbinger shattered the bow into two, but lost enough momentum that it just grazed the woman instead of bisecting her. She leapt back, following the halves of her bow as they embedded themselves onto the ground beside her. Kiro slammed Harbinger into the ground, blade first. "You know who you are working for, right? Why do you serve someone who wants to destroy humanity?" There was no reply but a smirk. Cinder grasped the shattered pieces of her bow and used just a little power on them. The heat spread from her hands, causing the black blades to deglow and reforge themselves into a pair of curved swords. With no reply forthcoming, Kiro resumed his attack, firing with Harbinger's shotguns. Stepping forward, Cinder spun her blades, easily blocking the bullets. Kiro continued to fire as she approached, his shots being deflected and doing no damage. When Cinder was in range, he abruptly triggered Harbinger's transformation back into a sword, using the shift to send him flying forward in a burst of speed. He pulled Harbinger out of the ground as he flew, slashing with the greatsword. Cinder did not attempt to dodge, and as Harbinger cut through her, she dissolved into nothing. Kiro's eyes widened, and in that moment that he was caught off guard, a pair of blades slashed at his from the side, biting into his aura and sending him tumbling. Kiro managed to keep hold of Harbinger as he rolled, using it to bring himself to a stop. As he recovered, his instincts, honed by years of huntsman training and experience, told him of a new threat. Spinning around, he brought his scythe up, feeling but not seeing the impact of an invisible metal object that struck its blade. Gunshots fired, the added force forcing him back, stumbling, and only the slightest flicker in the air before him alerted him to the next attack. Kiro could sense the heat of the flaming swords that struck at him. He could see the shimmer in the air caused by the great heat. He could feel the strength behind the blow that met Harbinger's blade, an inch too close to his chest. But he could not see the swords themselves, nor their wielder. Someone was messing with either his eyes or his head, and a handicap that severe meant that he was bound to lose. Keeping his guard up while looking around the clearing, Kiro tried to look for a sign of his assailants. The trees still stood silently, the flame dragon was still unmoving, being slowly consumed by the black ooze, and as luck would have it, it began to rain. Not very heavily, but enough to affect the illusion. 3 people. The black-dressed woman, coming in again with flaming swords. The silver-haired man, silently moving to flank him. And the dark-skinned girl, hands held to her head as she concentrated. She was not skilled enough. The droplets of rain were giving slight hints, cracks in the illusion, that Kiro's experienced eyes could catch and exploit. Within seconds of the rain's start, he was already in motion, vanishing in an instant. Cinder's blades sliced through air as Kiro darted off, heading straight for Emerald. The veteran hunter heading unerringly for her caused Emerald to hesitate, her Illusian faltering. Kiro slammed into her hard, aiming to even the field. With a cry, Emerald was thrown back, her aura flickering as it took Harbinger head-on. The illusion fell apart completely, allowing Kiro to see and react to a series of kicks from Mercury, each blocked by the blade of his scythe. He pushed the assassin away, swiftly turning to dodge Cinder's blades. Twisting aside, Koru allowed the burning blade to just miss him and struck out, slamming the handle of Harbinger into Cinder's chest, hard enough to stagger her. Cinder growled, flames blazing from her eyes. The sky overhead darkened further, the drizzle slowly intensifying to the verge of a storm. Her hands held blazing fireballs, and she tossed them at Kiro. He dodged aside. At the same time, his scythe struck out, hooking onto Mercury as he attacked, and threw him back into cinder. Taking the opportunity to retreat, Kiro realized that this power that his enemy displayed was very familiar. Kiro held the dying woman in his arms as fire erupted under his feet. He leapt aside, straining to see through the building storm. The same winds now held as they picked up speed, the power intensifying. The maiden power. With that knowledge, Kiro quickly decided against further engagement. The woman had half of a maiden's power. She was the one who had attacked and nearly killed Amber. He could not defeat her and her allies. Ozpin was missing. Winter had to be notified of this. But he had to destroy the seer first, lest it complete its task and create a new type of Grimm. With his plan made, Kiro slashed into the ground. The massive scythe blade shook the soil loose, sending up dust into the air. The brewing storm helped with that, swirling the loose soil and dust into a haze that concealed the area. Cinder fired a pair of fireballs at Kiro, only for them to blaze past and hit the ground. He was already on the move, dashing towards the dragon and the seer. As he approached, a pair of Kusarigama, blades attached to chains, flew at him, wrapping around Harbinger's blade. Emerald pulled, but Kiro was stronger, and she lost her grip. The seer screamed as it was destroyed in a single slash of Kiro's side. He leapt backward immediately, narrowly dodging more fireballs. Cinder scrolled, creating numerous deadly shards of black glass around her. Before she could fire them, Kiro once again threw up a blast of sand and dirt, hiding him from view. Annoyed, she gestured widely and the storm obeyed, blasting itself out of existence. The dust settled quickly, leaving Cinder standing with Emerald and Mercury under the rain, while a solitary crow took to the skies. In the chaos of Emperor Molt's assassination, no one noticed that a bunny warrior princess turned slave was missing. There were more important things to do. Taiul looked at the chaos from above, standing on a nearby building. Beside her, a half-pig man chuckled, holding a crossbow in his hands. Even here, he was hidden within shadows. Impressive work, Boro. Still, even though that man lived, there's no way the Empire and the outsiders won't turn on each other now, Taiul said, a smile on her face. Her plan was progressing nicely. There was no reply but further chuckling as the assassin faded fully into darkness. Chapter 27, Change. Disclaimer. I do not in any way or form own Gate. Thus the JSDF fought their RWBY. They belong to their respective owners, Takumi Yanai and Roosterteeth Animations respectively. Emperor Molt is dead, Crown Prince Zorzel, heir to the throne of the Empire, announced. His voice carried throughout the gathered armies, nobles and senators, all listening attentively to his every word. The royal guards, what was left of them, stood behind him, as well as his favorite slave Taiul. Nearby, Princess Pina Company Lotta stood with her Rose Knights, whose numbers were much greater, for they had not charged to their deaths. He was assassinated by the Outlanders, who betrayed the trust we placed on them. Under the guise of negotiations, they come to Sidera and slaughter our people, and dare kill the Emperor himself. Zorzel waited for a few seconds for the news to sink in before continuing. Sadly, Emperor Molt is dead. But I swear that those barbarians will not go unpunished. I was the heir to the throne of the mighty Imperial Empire, now, I am the new emperor. Zorzel declared. His statement was accepted easily by most of those in the Empire, the line of succession had been clear for years. I am taking full command of the Imperial Army. No longer will we even attempt to make peace with such a weak enemy, whose numbers are so few. Today, we will show them the might of the Empire, and let all know that we are the kings of this world. The crowd cheered as the newly crowned Emperor Zorzel finished his speech, officially declaring war. He had wasted no time in seizing power. Never mind that their original invasion force had been destroyed and the gate captured within hours, despite their element of surprise and advantage of battle readiness. Never mind that the army of unified kingdoms, the largest and most powerful force the Empire could field, was utterly devastated against a numerically inferior force. To Zorzel and his closest supporters, the Empire was unbeatable, and the Atlesians had used underhanded tricks to assassinate the Emperor. They would have revenge, in the form of death, destruction and enslavement. All hail Emperor Zorzal. The crowd cheered. The man himself basked in their cheers, a massive grin on his face and thoughts of revenge against those who had wronged him in his mind. Of course, not everyone felt that way. This is madness, brother, Piña Company Lotta protested, hurrying to keep up with Zorzal. The new emperor strode with purpose, surrounded by his new generals, his die-hard supporters and friends, as well as a few guards, servants and slaves. Get the imperial army to form up and prepare to march. I want them ready within the week, Zorzal ordered. Marquis Kalasta, one of the new generals, replied, yes, Lord Zorzal. However, the imperial army is not yet at full strength after the previous battle. Call on the vassal states then, to reinforce our numbers. It will be done. However, they too have lost many soldiers recently. I fear that the army will not be able to reach full strength, Marquis warned. Have we not been recruiting and training new troops? Zorzal demanded, send them as well. My lord, their training is not complete. Then let them lead the charge, to absorb our enemy's magic so that our true soldiers can strike. Zorzal callously declared. Zorzal, are you mad? How can you sacrifice our people like that? Piña protested once more. He turned to face her, finally acknowledging her presence. I am Emperor Zorzal now, and it is my duty to avenge our father. If I must sacrifice some soldiers to do so, then so be it. Piña gasped at that, speechless. Luckily, she was not the only one who felt that Zorzal's approach was too cruel. Herm Fool Mayo, second of the new generals, spoke up, my lord, such a sacrifice may prove disastrous for our army's morale. Perhaps, if we need meat shields, we can use the ogres. If we give them armor, they will be almost invincible. Zorzal thought about that, good idea. Let the worthless demihumans take the greatest casualties. Very well, inform the army. Have the blacksmiths begin forging armor. When we march in a week, they shall pave the path to our victory. Right away, your majesty, Herm agreed, before barking orders to the servants. They hurried off to do his bidding. This is foolishness, Zorzal. The ogres. You cannot control them. Piña warned, they will not help against the immense power of the Atlesians. You are sending our men to be slaughtered. We must send an envoy to talk to them. Sir Mudra, the last of the three new generals, spoke up, Princess Piña, whose side are you on? These invaders killed your father, yet you still seek to negotiate. Emperor Zorzal is taking steps to avenge both his father, and the honor of this empire, yet you defy him at every turn. You do have a point, Zorzal agreed, Piña, your words border on treason. Were you not the princess, your fate lies within the dungeons. Why is it that you defend them so? They killed father, Piña. I will have my revenge, and the empire will prevail. It was not them, Piña insisted. Think about it, brother. With conviction that seemed to come from her soul, she explained, the Atlesians wield powerful magic and weapons that can kill invisibly at range. Why would they use an arrow? Their own weapons are deadlier. Someone else must have been the assassin. For a moment, the generals hesitated, seeming to reconsider their reckless bloodlust. A shadow of doubt even crossed Zorzal's face for a second. Then they must be trying to hide their tracks. It is no problem for anyone to simply buy arrows from a blacksmith. They did not use their magic, so that we do not suspect it was them. Zorzal declared triumphantly. His generals nodded at his brilliance, their wills hardened. Brother, consider your next words carefully, Piña. I would rather have you support me, as the new emperor, than have to throw you into the dungeons for treason, Zorzal warned, voice dropping into a threatening tone. You, actually want my support. As if a switch was thrown, Zorzal laughed, of course I do, dear sister. You still command the Rose Knights, do you not? I could surely use a force like that. Father may have underestimated your knights, but I believe that they can help us win this war. Of course, Zorzal simply wanted Piña to command her knights into a suicidal attack. Piña knew that he would not be convinced, and any further attempts would not only fall flat, but might even end up with her in the dungeons. With his new authority, Zorzal was taking steps to eliminate anyone who disagreed with him. Very well, then, Zorzal. Shall I prepare the knights? Piña asked. She knew the answer. She did not plan to follow through. Do it, Piña. I'll even send Sir Mudra to accompany you. He'll take a look at your knights, and assess their potential. So you still don't trust me, Piña thought. That was smart, because she had no plans to send her precious Rose Knights into a war against such a powerful opponent, only to be destroyed. I will be leaving now, then, Pina said, thinking of plans for the future. She turned and left, with Mudra trailing behind her. Doing her best to ignore Mudra, Pina went straight for the headquarters of her knights, ordering a servant to summon forth the highest ranking among them. Pina took a seat in the meeting room. It would be a while before the other Rose Knights could arrive, and she had to get rid of Zorzel's ally following her around. After all, what she was planning was beyond mere treason. Sir Mudra, there is no need for you to remain here. Surely someone of your importance has more vital issues to attend to than to watch my knights talk, Pina began. I do, Mudra agreed, but Emperor Zorzel has ordered me to assess the strength of the Rose Knights. After all, Pina, I'm not sure if your old soldiers and women playing dress-up can survive the upcoming battle. Pina's lips tightened at his mocking tone. She could remain civil despite her brother and his general's stupidity, but she would take no insult to her knights. I am still the princess of the empire, Mudra. You will show me and my knights the respect we deserve. Do not underestimate us. Now go back to your master and tell him that the Rose Knights will be ready to fight, Pina ordered. Mudra hesitated at hearing her tone. However, he made no move to leave. Pina felt a power surge up from within her, making its way to her words. Sir Mudra, leave. At once, she commanded with strength belying her years. Of course, Princess, Mudra replied, obeying her order. He turned and left. Pina heaved a sigh of relief, feeling the oppressive gaze of her brother finally leave her. Impressive, a gruff voice spoke. Pina almost jumped, spinning to face the newcomer, a veteran of the Rose Knights, Grey Company Aldo, an experienced soldier. Oh, Sir Grey, Pina could not help but relax in the presence of her mentor, who had been vital in training not just herself but many of the younger knights. You got here quickly. Thank you for answering my summons. I was expecting this meeting. I mean no offense, Princess, but your brother has gone insane, Grey said, as bluntly as usual. Pina took no offense, for she herself had already come to that conclusion. I know, she sighed, I tried to talk some sense into him, but I'm afraid he's too much in his own world. Why can't he see the truth in front of him? He's dooming the Empire. And I assume that you have plans to prevent this. Yes, that's why I called everyone here, Pina confirmed. Then, she admitted, or at least, I have some ideas. I'm hoping we can figure something out. Grey nodded. Then, in the meantime, let me ask, what did you do just now? Pina asked, you mean with Mudra? I just told him to leave. Grey bluntly replied, you have never wielded that kind of command. It almost looked like he was charmed. In a way. Your aura is the manifestation of your soul. It also can manifest into a semblance, which is unique to each individual. I have to think about it, Pina cautiously answered. I suppose that would be a good idea. The rest have arrived, anyway. Let's find a way to save the Empire, shall we? Pina pushed away the thoughts of magic and power and focused back on the matter at hand. Saving the Empire from the hands of her foolish brother. Right, this is what we know. Giselle groaned in sudden pain, clutching her head. Are you all right? Tai asked, noticing her suffering. The dragon, it's in pain, Giselle hissed, an enemy seeks to. I must go. The dragon, what could hurt that thing? Tai wondered. Didn't we just beat it up some time ago? Yang pointed out. Tai nodded, yeah, good point. Still, I'm unaware of any missions relating to the dragon. Giselle had no time to stick around to listen to them talk. She jumped over a group of houses with a leap and was soon blazing off to the distance. Should we go after her? Ruby asked. I'm afraid we have other issues here. I wonder what's taking Rory so long. Rory was alone with Hardy, deep within her shrine. Even the priestesses had been ordered out so that the goddess and apostle could discuss matters unfit for mortal ears. The large chamber was almost empty, save for the two of them, a rare occurrence. No longer having the need for a physical form, Hardy left Rory's body, floating around as a spirit that only apostles could see and hear. I can help you, Hardy declared, with all the certainty of a goddess. Rory waited for the condition. But, Hardy continued, as expected, I have a condition. Rory continued waiting for the condition. I want you to be my wife. After all those years, surely you can finally accept him. Rory sighed. Hardy had been going on about marrying her for literal centuries, and apparently, her constant rejections meant nothing. She was tempted to just tell Hardy to go back to where she came from, but this time, she needed answers. So for the first time in 100 years, Rory relented, just a little, I'll consider it. Really? You must really be dying to know what's happening to you, You've been feeling new things, yes. Your powers are increasing, your body is changing. Your very soul is being reshaped, Rory. How exciting. Rory was unamused. Just tell me what's going on, she grumbled. Oh, isn't it obvious, my dear apostle? Hardy cooed, you are very close to ascending into godhood. To join the other gods and goddesses, but most importantly, to join me. I can hardly wait. No. Impossible. I'm not ready for that, Rory denied. I still have 39 years. 1,000 years. It's always been 1,000 years. Not this time, Hardy sang. Then help me. Fix this. I don't want to lose myself. No can do, Rory. Not just because I can't. It'll happen eventually, whether you like it or not. Yes, you'll lose your human emotions and feelings, but godhood will give you so much more, Hardy said. How? How long do I have? Hardy considered, floating around Rory. She looked past her physical form, and into her soul. 1 week. No more. Just 1 week. Hardy paused, intense concentration on her beautiful face. The latent power of your soul has been unlocked. Whoever did this, knew how to manipulate the power within souls. Interesting. Will you truly not help me? Slow this ascension down, or at least reopen the gate. Rory pleaded. Unfortunately, I truly cannot. Even I am not capable of reversing the process. I cannot lock down the soul of a goddess to be. As for the gate, you heard me. Opening it will destroy all of Falmart, and I quite like it here. Then I'm leaving, Rory declared. She was already in motion, dashing away from the suffocating underground. Hardy watched her leave, silently and sadly. She made no move to stand in the apostle's path. However Winter expected Kiro to return to Alnus and make his report, it definitely wasn't by crashing in through the window while she was doing paperwork. Kiro crashed in through the window. Kiro. What's the matter with you? Winter demanded, piles of paperwork in front of her. Even in a different world, on the brink of extinction, paperwork still plagued her existence. She then noticed that Kiro was not in the best of shape, panting and injured. What happened? Salem is corrupting that damn dragon. The hunter revealed. He fumbled for his flask and, finding it quickly, took a long gulp. Winter waited for him to continue. There's a seer here. How did your men let a Grimm get through the gate with us? Kiro shouted, it's corrupting the dragon, so it's a damn good thing for you that I managed to kill it. And they're here too. Who? Those people who attacked Amber. Winter blinked, who's Amber? That managed to snap Kiro out of his tirade. He shook his head, sipping from his flask, right. You don't know. Short version. The 4 maidens are real, they can use magic. Amber was the Fall Maiden. She was attacked and her powers stolen, and the one who did it is here, on Falmart, about to unleash a horde of Grimm. Didn't you kill the seer? Wouldn't that stop it? Winter asked. Also, I'm going to need the long version. It should, yes. But do you seriously think that they have no contingency? It's only a matter of time, Winter. We need to destroy the Grimm before it finishes its corruption, or we are looking at a full-scale invasion. Right, Winter agreed. With a sweep, she cleared her table of all the paperwork and began drafting up plans. Where are they? How long do we have, Kiro? Kiro grabbed a pen and jabbed it into the May on Winter's wall, marking a location relatively near the dark elven forest. He shook his flask, trying to get the last few drops of the liquid out. A week. 2, at most. Nowhere near enough time. Then again, even with all the time on the world, their lack of resources meant that it was only a matter of time before the Grimm overrun them. Winter sighed. Nothing was looking good, and the news about the dragon made everything worse. Anything else, Kiro? What can we expect to face? Depends on how quickly you can get the troops there. If, say, you reach in a week, then maybe the dragon is not completely Grimm, and it'll just be the half-maiden, her followers and whatever minor Grimm manage to spawn. Kiro paused, considering. But I have no idea how quickly the corruption can spread. If you're too late, we're looking at a Grimm of unprecedented power, a small army of lesser Grimm, plus the maiden and friends. So best we move quickly. My advice. Bring everything. Something tells me we're going to need it. Kiro ended his analysis in a sobering tone. Alright, thank you, Kiro, Winter said. Kiro grunted, mumbling about going to find more booze, and left. Through the window, which was open, and the glass still lay shattered on the ground. For a moment, Winter wondered why Kiro had entered through the window in the first place, then dismissed it. There were more important things to focus on. Winter began typing up an order, summoning the Atlesian forces under her command to prepare. Then, she stopped. As it were, their resources were dangerously low, and no replacement had been found. Alone, they may yet fail to stop the Grimm. Based on Kiro's estimate, their numbers would grow too quickly. But perhaps they did not have to do it alone. Winter erased her draft and began a new one. It was time for a call to arms. And this at the end of part 8 of this What If. Hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.